the people of Ukraine.
The Ukraine case. Representatives and accomplices of the anti-cult movement made a series of outrageous statements about Ukrainians and Ukraine as a whole. These defamatory statements began to surface many years before the military conflict between Ukraine and Russia, as a preparatory stage of propaganda aimed at shaping public opinion, injecting and ingraining necessary narratives in people's minds. These statements have only intensified and taken on more radical forms now that the military conflict is in its active phase.
And in general, the situation with mass hysteria we observe in Ukraine resembles, in essence, what happens in cults.
One of the first to spread the idea that Ukraine is afflicted by Satanism, which is linked to Nazism, was Vladimir Rogatin, a corresponding member of the European Federation of Centers of Research and Information on Sectarianism, FECRIS. By a remarkable coincidence, this individual conducts his activities in Ukraine, while also being an active mouthpiece for Russian anti-cultists. In 2014, he began explaining the cause of the Euromaidan by attributing it to the harmful influence of new religious movements. He added that they were also behind what happened in Ukraine in 2004, namely, the Orange Revolution.
Discrimination has reached a qualitatively different level. We must acknowledge that it wasn't just Orthodox Christians and Uniates. There were also neo-pagans, Baptists, and various movements involved in the Maidan protests.
This completely aligned with the opinions of FECRIS Vice President Alexander Dvorkin, who had previously made similar statements.
We saw that the first Maidan was driven entirely by neo-Pentecostals, who were the main active forces. The second Maidan had a more complex religious component involving not only cults, but also the Uniate Church, which belongs to the Roman Catholic Church. However, Ukrainian Uniates are a special case, and in many ways, in general, they have, you could say, a cultist mindset as well. Well, there were also neo-pagans and Scientologists, too.
Similar sentiments were expressed by the Ratsir's Vice President Alexander Novopashin.
So, what did the Ukrainians do? Or rather, their American curators and mentors? They began to direct these destructive cults and organizations. Remember the saying, if you can't beat them, lead them. Surprisingly, it was the American intelligence agencies who first started fighting the cults. But they failed. Then, they decided to try to control the cult leaders through bribery, intimidation, and so on. It worked. The same thing was done in Ukraine. Now, totalitarian sects, that is, destructive cults, while continuing their main destructive activities, have also started working for the Ukrainian regime. Neo-Pentecostals and neo-pagans took an active part in the Orange Revolutions, for example, on the Maidan. There, they gained considerable combat experience and can now be used to organize and sustain street riots in Russia.
In the same 2014 interview, Rogatin stated,
"In Ukraine, there is a growing influence and presence of various satanic cults. According to various estimates, there are more than 100 satanic groups operating in our country, with a total of about 2,000 followers.